And we are back with another daily reflection on the Daily Vedantic. And your boy is sick as a dog right now. Sick as a dog. But we ain't going to let that stop us. In fact, there's a lot to reflect on even when you feel like S. In fact, that's one of the greatest things about Vedanta is this philosophy. It's you open your eyes and the universe teaches you the truth, teaches you Vedanta. In our previous episode, we talked about the spiritual bypass. That's when Arjuna, this warrior prince, in the Bhagavad Gita, this 30-minute dialogue between a warrior prince and his charioteer in the middle of this great big civil war, this big battle. And the first chapter is him saying, let me come up with some pseudo-philosophical reasons of why we shouldn't do this. And he's just flat out scared. But he's trying to rationalize and justify getting out of it. Spiritual bypass. Again, it's what it's called. And I wasn't going to do this episode today. And I noticed myself coming up with those reasons. And then I said, you know what? No, I'm going to go have a surf, get the cold water, get the sodium, magnesium, potassium, get the vitamin D, get the sun in my eyes, doing all of the things, and I'm going to record this episode. I don't know how it's going to go. But I do know I didn't take the easy way out, even though I feel, I think I did mention, I'm going to mention it again, I feel like total S right now. And today's reflection is actually not just on, it's always great to point out the spiritual bypass because we are so prone to do it in our lives. And I'm so glad it's part of the Gita. It wasn't like, I don't want to do it. It was, let me come up with a savvy way to where I can avoid doing this duty and sound sophisticated while I do it. And then his charioteer, Krishna, symbolic embodiment of God, just like stiff arms him. And it's like, what are you talking about? So not only is that great to reflect on, but the real reflection today is we had an episode on Titiksha before. Titiksha is cultivating a comfort in discomfort, a pleasure in discomfort, especially around service for others. And as is the case with so many reflections, it's great to revisit old ones and reflect on them again and again and again. Within Vedanta, it said that reflection is 100,000 times more powerful than listening. 100,000 times more powerful. Meaning that it's, you hear a TED Talk, you see some inspiring tweet or Instagram post. If it's you see it and you don't reflect on it, it's in one ear and out the other, and 2 days later, you don't remember it. Titiksha is worth reflecting on again because I love that this is a virtue. This is a principle. Another word for Vedanta is, another way to talk about Vedanta is Sanatana Dharma, eternal principles. And this principle of Titiksha, it's not just take up your cross and bear it in the Western or Christian sense. It's do it with pleasure. And that is a subtle but profound distinction. Don't just do it. Don't just brave a smile and go into a challenge and resent that you have to do it. Resist that you have to do it. It's do it with pleasure. Friends come and stay at your house, give them the master bedroom. Don't resent it. Don't resist it. They probably won't let you do it, but do it with pleasure. That colleague needs you to do something and your plate is already feeling just overstacked. Don't just take it on because, I don't know, maybe you owe them or maybe you know that you're going to need something from them down the road and you're doing it for some selfish reason, which I will volunteer my hand in doing things in that regard often, but it's not to just do it and then quote unquote check the box. It's to do it with pleasure. It's to say, yeah, I can help you with that. And I think it's going to take 15 minutes and it ends up taking an hour and a half. And the whole time, instead of stewing on it, you're reinforcing Titiksha, cultivating this comfort in discomfort. And even further, cultivating a pleasure in that discomfort. It's not just going to the gym, just being like, I have to do this. But it's cultivating a pleasure in that discomfort, an enthusiasm for it. I know I'm feeling the enthusiasm once I shifted my perspective and said, you know what, I'm not going to take the spiritual bypass. I'm not going to I don't even know if it's spiritual. I'm not going to take the lazy bypass, and I'm going to go into it. And not only am I feeling free, liberated from the daily recording that I needed to make, but even more than that, it's so great to test these out, to see if they actually work. I'll be the first to say, abandon this entire philosophy wholesale if it does not pass through your own reason, judgment, and experience. But I know as soon as I made that decision, it started to feel better. As soon as I really leaned into it, walking into the studio right now, it's just, there was a pep in my step that I haven't had in 2 or 3 days because of how bad I've been feeling. Swami will say all the time, nothing feels better than doing what you ought to do. And as we cultivate and develop the intellect, that voice in our heads telling us what we ought to do, and we listen to it, it's bliss, man. It is bliss. Titiksha is a part of that inner dialogue, cultivating a comfort in discomfort and to take it further, not just to do it, but doing it with pleasure. That is today's reflection on the daily Vedantic. We'll see you tomorrow.